welcome back around, everyone, to the Sports Report here live on the campus of Lindenwood, Belleville. As always, I'm your host, Jake Griffith. Lots of Lynx sports news to talk about. The end of the men's basketball season is here. The Lynx played their final game of the season against Freed-Hardeman. We'll talk about that in the Columbia game, the semifinal game in the AMC Conference Tournament, as well as welcome on Coach Justin Wells of the men's volleyball program onto the desk to talk about the season so far. But first, let's talk about that basketball season and the conclusion of it. We'll bring on Justin Tourneau, Lynx basketball analyst, here to the desk. And Justin, welcome to the desk.
Thanks for having me.
So, as we referenced, the season is over for the Lynx men's basketball team. It was an abrupt end, at least in most people's opinions. Lynx started out the season kind of slow, played a lot of ranked teams. They struggled out of the gate, but they really evolved and grew as a team toward the end of the season. They lost a lot of guys through, be it suspensions or dismissals for conduct and things of that nature. Just overall, what was your biggest takeaway from this season?
Well, it was a season like no other, really. Like you said, we lost a lot of guys, and that doesn't really happen. You may lose one or two guys for certain reasons, but we lost a lot of guys this year. And after that, the team really did come together with the guys that were there, and they put together a great finishing run, and they played very well, and we beat some really good teams. So really, it's a good takeaway because they fought against that adversity, and they ended up putting a very strong end to the year.
Now let's go ahead and focus on some specific games down the stretch. The Lynx would get a 3 seed in the AMC Conference Tournament this season, first season in the AMC. And they beat Lyon College at home in their first-round matchup, and then it was an uphill battle at that point. They'd have to go on the road the final 2 games to win the conference tournament. We'll start with Columbia. Lynx struggled with Columbia all season, lost both meetings. They lost one here at home by 1 in overtime in December, and then later on in the season they played Columbia at home and they lost in Columbia. They played this game in Columbia, tough atmosphere to play in. You saw that game, Justin. What was the biggest thing that stuck out in your mind as far as the play overall of the team and the stars like Craig Anderson and Javon Leamy, who we'll talk about in a second?
Well, like you said, it's a very tough place to play, and Columbia is a team that we hadn't beat this year, and in years past we haven't beat either. We have never beat them, so it's a team we really want to get a win against. And it was a must-win game to move on in the tournament, and really the takeaways, like you said, about Javon and Craig, they played great, and they did what they had to do for the team. Craig is our best player, our star player, and he played like that. And Javon has always been solid all year, and he had his ups and downs, but that game he brought it, and he played great.
Well, we talked about Javon, obviously the huge defensive play at the end of the game, the block as time expired. It was a 1-point game. Lynx would hold on to win that game. They'd eke out the 1-point win. Thanks in part to a lot of guys, but Javon Leamy is really one of the names that sticks out right there with that huge defensive play. It's amazing, at least from my point of view, to watch Javon play and how he's grown over the season. But from your point of view, being as close to the basketball team as you have been this season, Justin, how much has he actually grown over the season?
He's grown with leaps and bounds, honestly. And coming in, he is a freshman coming into the program. He had all the ability. He's got the size, the speed, the athleticism, and the skills. But really, it took him a little while to get settled into the offense and settled into playing with new players. But after a while, after he did get settled in, he played the way he was capable of playing, and that was a beast. And really watching him play, really no one can stop him, which is scary because he only is a freshman. But with all that ability, he made great strides, and he'll continue to get better.
Now we'll go ahead and fast forward to the Freed-Hardeman game. Obviously, that's developed into a nice rivalry. I talked to Coach Spinner earlier this week, and he said the same thing. It's a great rivalry that this has slowly developed into. This was the 5th meeting all time between these two schools, 3rd this season, and the Lynx would have to go on the road to play at Freed. We know how tough of an atmosphere that is as well for the Lynx to pick up that win, and obviously the Lynx would go on to fall short toward the end of the game. They were leading by as many as 8, just couldn't get it to that double-digit hump, and Freed would come back. It would end the Lynx season. We would go on to end the Lynx season. But in that game, as opposed to other games, do you feel like the Lynx really played more as a team in that game?
I really think they do. The environment, that's the toughest environment to play in, and that we played in all year. Being a part of that game before in past years, it's so loud in there. You can't even, from you to I, you can't even hear each other. But I know we didn't win, but we did play great. We had a good lead there at the end, and didn't work out the way we wanted, and that happens. I mean, I give credit to Freed. They were 0-5 in conference championship games, and they finally got a win on their home court, so good for them, and we're ready to face them next year.
Well, as we talked about the rivalry as it's developed, Lynx took down Freed twice last season when Freed was ranked 1 and then number 3. They beat them when they were the number 2 team in the nation. Obviously, there's a little bit of bad blood, but being a part of that rivalry, what does that mean for this university to have an opponent, a rival, a true rival now that they've joined the conference?
Oh, it's great. It's awesome. Like you said, and for me personally, I don't think I've ever seen two schools anywhere develop such a rivalry so quickly. And it's an awesome game to play in. The crowds are always into it and head-to-head, and there's going to be a lot of great players on either side of the court, on either team. But it means a lot, and it makes the games coming up in the next few years even that much more exciting.
Well, you referenced the next couple of years, and we'll get to that in a second. But I do want to talk about the play at the end of the Freed-Hardeman game, the push-off on Cameron Lewis. Widely regarded, Cameron Lewis is one of the best players, if not the best, in the NAIA today, right now. And you don't want to accuse the officials of being biased one way, but obviously the best players are going to get the benefit of the doubt on some calls. Was it a push-off in your opinion? Because you've seen the replay. Everybody's seen the replay at least 100 times. I
saw the replay. I saw it live. It was a tough angle to see, and I think in that play it was a good no call. Maybe different angles were better because I didn't have the best angle, but from what I saw, it looked like he made a good move. Maybe pushed off a little bit. It definitely could have been called. But I think for that moment and that the home court advantage right there, I think it was an all right no call. And really, it was a good shot that Chris forced him into. I mean, that's a tough three late in the game, a lot of pressure, and unfortunately for us, he hit it. So it just didn't work out for us that game.
Now, sticking with officiating calls, there was the double dribble call against Craig at the end. The Lynx had the 2-on-1 break, chance to tie the ball game up because at that point Freed was up by 2. You also have seen the replay of that, and we talked about that before we went on the air. In your personal opinion, do you feel like that was a double dribble on Craig?
Well, watching it live from the computer that I was watching it on, I couldn't really see what happened. I saw a loose ball and a lot of bodies kind of flying around. But for me personally, knowing Craig all year, or even last year, I don't remember him being called for a double dribble, specifically any time. So that was very shocking to me that he was called for that. I couldn't really see if he did or not, but it did come as a big surprise.
Do you feel like the officials should have blown the whistle in that late game situation? A call like that, very easily you can make the argument, swayed the game.
Oh yeah, it was a huge call, and I just don't know because like I said, I couldn't see a great angle. But I mean, I feel if that was a 50-50 call, you really don't blow the whistle. Kind of like on the other one, I don't think that you leave that type of game to that type of call in that moment if it's a 50-50 call. But like I said, I didn't really see it, so I'm not really sure what the refs saw compared to what I saw.
Now, I do want to get your opinion on the selection, the seed that the Lynx got, at least in the final polls. The top 32 teams make it in the NAIA National Tournament, as we know. Lynx would get the number 33 spot in the final polls, just missed the tournament by 1 spot. There was a lot of controversy surrounding the way the bracket panned out, the way it ended up shaping out. West Virginia Tech came in at number 32. The statistics don't lie. Lynx have 2 wins against ranked opponents this season. West Virginia Tech, no wins against ranked opponents. And only 3 of West Virginia Tech's, I believe, 20 wins came against teams with a record over 500. Do you feel like that the Lynx should have made the national tournament and West Virginia Tech should have been left out, just going specifically off those stats right there?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I honestly felt, I was not there for the selection show, but I honestly felt we were going to get in because of the quality wins and the run that we put on late in the year and in the tournament. I was very confident that we were going to get in, but I'm not really sure who makes those decisions or who decides, but I definitely feel like we should have been in over them. We were more deserving, honestly, by, like you said, the record and the wins, the quality of wins. I mean, both were in our favor, so I definitely think we should have made it.
Well, we definitely had Coach Bob Burchard of Columbia on our side. According to Coach Burchard, he said he put us at number 25 in the nation in the final polls. Now, regarding the national tournament, the way teams are selected, that's one thing. I did talk to Coach Spinner about this earlier in the week, just getting his opinions on it. They select a representative from each conference, and the representatives are the coaches. Do you feel like that could cause a problem, some ulterior motive, some bias, or should they have a third party come in and select the teams with that way taking the bias potentially out of it altogether.
Yeah, I think that would be a very useful tool in the selection process. I didn't really know a whole lot about the whole selection ways, but finding out that it was coaches from other conferences, I definitely think that there could be different motives or just different reasons for coaches putting teams ahead of other teams. But I think that would be a very useful tool in bringing in a third party and trying to take out as much bias as you can.
Now, before I let you go, Justin, we talked about the future of the program. Obviously, the Lynx will bring back Javon Leamy. They'll bring back 6 of the 9 players they had on the team to end the season. Colin Mingo, Curran Walsh, guys of that nature. Andrew Doobie, one of the red shirts, will be back. You yourself will be back next season. What are we looking for heading into the next year and further for the Lynx as far as national tournament, AMC champions, things like that?
Well, with this team next year, it's definitely going to be different. It's almost like, not to talk down to any of our other players, but life without Craig. It's going to be a lot different not having him and not having Lawson and Brandon, because they're all great players and tough to move on from. But I believe we will, and it may take a little bit of time to mesh and learn to play together. But I believe we will under Coach Spinner, and look for us to do big things next year.
Well, thank you for your time, Justin. We're always glad to have you on the desk and can't wait for this time next year, basketball season, seeing if the Lynx can make it back to the NAIA National Tournament for the second time in school history. Earlier this week, Lindenwood Belleville's Sports Information Director Matt Ankenbrandt caught up with Coach Spinner and a host of players from the Lynx team to recap the season. Matt, take it away.
Following the loss of number 4 Freed Hardman earlier this month, another chapter in Lynx basketball history has come to a close. Year 5 in the program saw LU Belleville narrowly miss the NAIA National Tournament by 1 spot in the final rankings. But, as head coach Scott Spinner puts it, that's just part of the game.
Well, we feel like it's a great accomplishment. We obviously wanted to win it, but we made it to the last 20 seconds, and a Conference Player of the Year made a great play. And those things happen. But we think it was very good to come in and have a good season in the conference and kind of establish ourselves. But then going forward, we certainly want to look to win the conference every year. That's our goal, and I think we've kind of made ourselves known, established ourselves, and now we'll be in a good position to have a good core back and hopefully win the conference next year.
Although they started slow, the Lynx finished the regular season strong, going 17-4 since the start of January and knocking off then number 2 Freed Hardman on LUB's senior night. They would earn themselves a 3 seed in the conference tournament, where they beat number 12 Columbia on their home court en route to an unexpected trip to the AMC Conference Championship game in just their first year in the conference. Overall, Spinner is proud of this team.
Well, I'm very proud of the season that we had. We did have some struggles early, but I'm proud of the way our guys came together. We had 9 players at the end of the year due to some of the struggles early. We had to remove a few players. But those 9 that stuck with us played their hearts out. We were playing our best basketball at the end of the year, and I'm most proud of the effort that those 9 players gave and the way they came together. And I think at the end of the year, we're one of the better teams in the country. And we didn't get the bid to the national tournament. We feel like we should have, but I'm very proud of those 9 players.
When it comes to the future, the coaching staff sees a bright one for the Lynx. They will return 6 of the 9 players off this past year's team, as well as have red shirts like Andrew Dalby suit up for the Lynx uniform for the first time in his time here. Dalby, brother of NBA journeyman Quincy Dalby, will be expected to help make life after Craig a little bit easier for the Lynx to handle, and he's ready to accept this challenge.
Well, it's really big for us, returning those 6 players, and then we're adding Andrew Doobie, who's been a red shirt here for the last year and a half, really. He'll have his last year of eligibility, and he's a tremendous player. With that core group coming back, we've got 3 starters out of that group. We got who's going to be a super sophomore in Javon Leamy. We got the seniors coming back, all of the seniors coming back. So we feel real good about next year. We also have some really good recruits that we're talking to that we think will come in and be able to make an impact right away. So we feel great about it. I think we have a good core and a good group coming in.
Overall, Coach Spinner and the rest of the staff were proud of the effort put forth by their team this year. In just their first year in the conference, the Lynx really made a splash. What excites Coach Spinner more than anything going forward, however, is a chance to continue building this rivalry between Lindenwood Belleville and Freed Hardman.
Well, it's one of those great rivalries. It's last year when they were undefeated, #1 in the country, we had a great game and knocked them off on a buzzer beater. They came back a couple weeks later and we got them again. And then we went to their place this year and they were pretty upset, I'm sure, about those 2 instances, and so they beat us pretty badly, and then came here and we got them on senior day, and then the 5th one, we go down there and lose in the last 20 seconds on a great shot by a terrific player. And so, yeah, I think it has developed into a good rivalry, the good kind. They have a great coach. Coach Shelton is a tremendous coach, and he and I talk and got a lot of respect for him, and I think they do things the right way. I think we do things the right way, and when that happens and we have good teams play each other and there's a lot of respect, those games are fun, and you get to play at a high level and the crowd's into it, and their fans, while they were on us the whole game, which is wonderful, we love it. Then when the game was over and the conference awards were given out, they're clapping for all of our players, and I think it's just a neat rivalry, and it's one of great competition and good sportsmanship.
For the Sports Report on LBTV, I'm David Alfonso, LUB Assistant Sports Information Director.
And we'll take a quick commercial break, and when we return, we'll have head coach Justin Wells of the Lynx men's and women's volleyball programs here at the desk to talk about the men's volleyball season and how his team is doing. This is the Sports Report on LBTV.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Welcome back to the Sports Report here on LBTV. I'd like to welcome in the coach of the men's and women's volleyball programs, Coach Justin Wells, to the desk. And Coach Wells, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for joining us today. And obviously, we're in the thick of the men's volleyball season right now, but we'll talk about a little bit of women's volleyball, kind of get a whole program assessment from you over the course of the interview. So the women, they finished the season and made the conference tournament, like you told us before we came on the air. We're out in the first round against Columbia. Overall, this season, what strides did you see your team make from last season that really gives you hope about going forward for this program?
I think with the program we really saw an increase in just team unity, and we've seen that kind of with both programs over the last couple of years, is really focusing on that team unity, which makes us just play so much harder. I mean, one of the things that a lot of coaches said in their post-game interviews after playing us is just, there were times where we may not have been the most talented team on the floor, but we just made people work because we played together. And we went out there and we had, 6, 8 people that were going out there fighting for the same thing as opposed to having 6 individuals, which really was a big difference over the year before. So, that added bonus of having that team unity and working together is really kind of help us broaden what we can do and also open up a lot of different avenues for, who we can beat.
Now, when you talk about that workman-like attitude and that overall team unity, the togetherness, do you feel like that helps you guys in the recruiting aspect as far as appealing to more players nationally to come play for a program like that?
Oh, definitely. Like, we always do what are called recruit overnights, and we have them spend the night. They do an open gym, they do a tour, they do all different kinds of stuff, and they eat with the team, they get to hang out with the team, and pretty much every single time, girls and guys are like, I just love hanging out with the team. And so we're like, that's the best part, is they really enjoy the team. And I always say, if it feels homey, if it feels like someplace you can call home for the next 4 years, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to want to fight more for, your team, your program, and your players. And so I think that's been a really great benefit. We've never had a recruit come in and be like, I just don't like the girls, or I don't like the guys. We've always had recruits that have just been like, wow, they're just so much fun. They just enjoy what they do. They just are here to, go to school and just play volleyball because they love it. And that's been a huge positive for us. And like you said, helps so much in the recruiting when you got someone flying from Texas and California, and they're not going to have that family here. They have a family in the team, and they really feel that way. And so we've been able to get some, farther out talent because of that.
Now, going forward to next season, sticking with the women's volleyball side of things, what are we looking for next season from your team, Coach Wells?
I think we'll have a really, really dynamic team. We've added a lot of depth in some positions, which we were kind of nervous about at the end of the season just because we lost an incredible senior class. Taylor Boyer, Chelsea Hummert, Taylor Glick, Taylor Albrecht, all Taylors, were incredible starters for our program, did great things, great leadership, and had led the program in a lot of different aspects over the last couple of years. So we knew some big shoes were needing to be filled. But I think we've done a really good job of recruiting with some younger talent and some transfer talent that we believe will be able to step in and do their best. And I think the biggest thing is we're going to really have a competitive atmosphere in our gym. Instead of one girl that just owns that position, we're going to have 3 in each position. And we're going to say, you got to fight it out day in and day out. And I think that's really going to give that competitive drive. If we're fighting every single day in the gym, we walk into competition, it's normal for us. And so I think that's really going to open us up again to having more depth and throwing different things at different teams depending on who we play and what they play like. The AMC is very different. You got some really tall teams, you got some really fast teams, you've got some mediocre teams, and it's just each night you feel like you got to go out with a different outlook, a different team, and a different recruiting or scouting style.
Now let's go ahead and switch gears to the men's volleyball season. As we said at the top of the interview, we're right in the thick of things for men's volleyball. You guys currently sit at 15-9 right now. As you were telling us before we went on the air, 0-27 last season. Huge strides made for your team coming into this year. What have you seen from your team so far this season that really tells you they've made considerable strides other than just the win-loss column?
I think the volleyball IQ has been a huge increase on the team. That came with a lot of added leadership. We did add some transfers in that have played at the high level JUCO, and then we also added some just higher level freshmen that have just played club all through high school, played high school, which I think a lot in the past there were just those players that didn't have that kind of volleyball IQ, or we were just young. I mean, last year we were super young, so that added benefit of one more year all our freshmen are now sophomores, and and it just kind of gives them a little more maturity on the floor, and the game kind of slows down a little bit for them. That first year in college, you're just like everything's so fast, especially in men's. It's just if you can't react fast enough, you're just gonna get beat. And this year they kind of have that added step, and with that added maturity and some more leadership, I think we've just really seen that volleyball IQ increase. And now it's. Last year it was make a silly decision and then just be like, I don't know. This year it's we see less silly decisions, but B, the moment they make it, they immediately show you what they should have done right. It's like, yeah, okay, you know what to do. Now just fix it the next time. And so that's that added benefit, and I think that'll only show as we increase. I mean, we still start, half of our team is freshmen, sophomores, so we're still super young. So we have a lot of growth to go from here. So I'm excited about the future for this program as well.
Now, you guys play in the NAIA South, as you said before we went on, a relatively small conference, only 5 teams. You guys will add one more heading into next season. What are the benefits, though, of playing in a conference and having this team in a conference to cultivate and grow the name and the program?
It's been great. We've really enjoyed it. It's a really difficult conference, just like the women's is in the AMC. Park right now, we're playing them tomorrow here. They're number 1 in the country. Mobap, we're playing them on Monday here, and they're number 3 in the country right now. And they're the top 2 in our conference. So that's a tough conference to go out and say, almost half of our conference that you're playing are in the top 3 in the nation. But I think that's good. That makes you really fight for it and work for it in your own conference. So if you do eventually get to that, conference tournament or that national title, you don't feel like I've never played actual competition. I'm used to it. And so I think it's a really good thing, and I also think, kind of like you said before we went on the air, that rivalry starts to come about. There are some teams that were like, oh man, we always do this against them, or we always, and so it becomes like a trend. It becomes something we can take pride in our program of saying, we've got to be here against this team and here against this team. And I think that's something that we see developing, because we are still young and new, but we see developing each year, and I think that's really good and going to drive that competitiveness in our program.
Now, before we let you go, Coach Wells, I just want to get your opinions and your thoughts on, since you've come here to be the coach of both programs, the growth of both programs and how it's evolved. How do you feel like the state of the team is right now, and going forward, how do you feel like it'll be? And just overall in your tenure here at the university, how have you seen it grown?
You've seen it grow in many different directions. I mean, personality differences. I mean, you always see that with a new coach, is you recruit differently. You recruit athletes that have more your vision, and also that come here for your vision. And so I think we have athletes that are wanting to buy into what we want to do and where we want to go, and it's only going to make it increase more. But I think they, especially with the women's program here, they already had an incredible base, and they already had incredible athletes here. I think now just getting them to continue to work together is only going to grow, and adding more and more athletes every year to have that really competitive drive in our gym. And with men, just continuing down the direction we have over the last 2 years, continuing to foster our young kids and add some to it that can work off of what we have on the floor now. I think both of these programs only have up to go from here, and I'm really excited about years to come with these programs.
Well, thank you, Coach Wells, for your time. Thanks for joining us here at the desk and taking time out of your day to come on the Sports Report.
Thank you.
That's all we have, everyone. For everyone here at LBTV, I'm Jake Griffith signing off for the Sports Report. We'll see you next time, same place.